Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tutors Playbook. My name is Clara and I'm the General Manager of online tutoring company Telios Tutors. And today we are taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of psychology and uncover its practical benefits and how it can help personal relationships, better understanding yourself as a person, or even navigating life's challenges. And psychology holds the key to transformative insights. So in today's episode, we'll explore how psychology principles can help address complex issues like trauma, child development, or students who have additional or unique needs. And these tools, they're not just theoretical, they're proven and practical solutions that empower us to enhance our well-being and improve the quality of life in those around us. So whether you're a lifelong learner, an educator, or like me, just simply curious about the human mind, stay tuned and we can uncover the practical, relatable side of psychology. And joining me today, we have Joanna, one of our tutors. She's a psychology graduate from King's College London and has been tutoring with Telios for a number of years. So Joanna, welcome. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So psychology is an underrated subject, I say, yet it offers so many life-changing insights. What's first inspired you to study psychology?
I think what first inspired me is because I have a real passion. I think this is sort of reflective in a lot of my past work experience roles and volunteering experience, but I have a passion of really sort of wanting to help people and support people in really critical moments and in moments where they sort of need that support. And I think from, like I mentioned, my previous roles, whether I've been an honorary assistant psychologist or worked in sort of with offenders in the youth justice system, I really understood that how sort of psychology can really, the power of psychology and sort of understanding children and young people's well-being can really help understand their trauma and sort of support them in these challenging circumstances. So that really drew me to sort of want to study that further and sort of, as well as, bring that to my tutoring currently. So sort of being able to sort of learn, sort of teach what I learn, teach sort of the things that I'm passionate about.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to ask how you bring your psychology, like understanding of psychology, how you bring that enthusiasm to your teaching, or could you explain any examples or personal experiences that you've had from students, whether with us or in general?
Yeah, I think just in general with psychology, I think because it's a very overlooked and underlooked subject, many people think, oh my gosh, it's about helping people, they think, generally it's about, people that may have mental health difficulties. I think people can overlook it or not underlook it in terms of, the kind of techniques or strategies that can actually support with tutoring. So whether it's looking at stress management or looking at how to cope with anxiety, especially with exams coming up, loads of children, whether it's just about giving little techniques or whether it's about just using sort of psychological principles to underpin sort of different tips that I could provide a child. So for example, it could be, when it comes to sort of, thinking about anxiety, thinking about, anxiety that they may have with exams or something, about maybe taking breaks in between sessions. It could be about writing things down. And that's sort of how I like to tailor a lot of my sessions as well, to accommodate sort of the students' needs if they've sort of got any anxiety or stress as well.
Sure, absolutely. And why do you think psychology is sometimes overlooked as a subject, though? And how can understanding it improve one's quality of life? Because there's practical value to psychology in everyday life, and it's growing relevance in areas like trauma and relationship dynamics. Why do you think it's not as, say, popular as other subjects, would you feel?
I don't know, actually. I think that's just a general question. I think anyone who studies psychology is going to have to try and do. I think personally, I do think it's perhaps becoming more popular in recent years, because I do think there's a huge sort of thing going around right now, and we're focusing a lot on the mental health of children and we're thinking of the well-being. But I think in general, people are not understanding that, the different principles in psychology that actually implement into everyday life. So whether it to be, for example, things like memory or attention, these different things actually support. And if, they're taught and their sort of children are educated on these kind of things, it could really support them when it comes to exams and stuff. So whether it's about, looking at a psychological principle, about, revising in the same place where you do your exam, things like that is actually a very, that could support children, because that, or whether it's, using this specific, learning tells technique, if you're supporting a neurodiverse child, different things like that could really support them. But I think that's a tricky question. I don't think, we don't know why it's completely overlooked. I think it's a challenge, but I do think, what I am learning, I'm finding that it's becoming more popular recently and people are finding it more interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of relevant topics, especially something that's quite popular now and relevant is attachment theory, understanding attachment styles and patterns in relationship, and how individuals can break unhealthy cycles. I'm not sure if you could maybe share with us different types of attachment theories.
Of course, yeah. So one attachment theory is a secure attachment. So we learn about this, about, you know, making sure you have you feel at early stage periods of life, you have that attachment with your primary caregiver where you feel comfortable around them, where you don't feel scared if they're going to leave. You have that sort of sense of independence, knowing that they're going to come back, and you feel very secure. So we call that a secure attachment. We then have some insecure attachment styles. So we have an insecure anxious style, which is sort of fearing, you know, of abandonment and craving very closeness. We have an insecure avoidance style, which is very sort of like not caring much about the attachment figure, just being very autonomous and independent and not needing that attachment figure. And then we also have a disorganized attachment, which is a mix of sort of having a fear but also a desire to be close to other people and very clingy to other people because they fear that their attachment figure may not be present. So I think this is a key theory that I've shared a lot with my A-level students that I've had here at Telios Tutors. And I think it's just, you know, the importance of understanding that attachment style at a young age is really significant when it comes to thinking about relationships in future, or the kind of character that that child's going to become, or sort of their relationships, you know, with their friendships or sort of intimate relationships in future. So it's really significant to learn about those sort of attachment styles early on.
Yeah, I think it really helping understand the dynamic of relationships, be it romantic, familial, or even professional, like tools like active listening, empathy, what else? Conflict resolution stem from psychological principles, and it can help you with everyday life, which is why it's so relevant. And another thing that I think would benefit if people learn more about psychology is that emotional intelligence. Growing up with that, and so what would you advise students or people looking to do psychology? Would it be beneficial for them to learn more about emotional intelligence, or learning it through everyday lives? How would you support students understanding emotional intelligence?
Yeah, I think as I said, in nowadays, I think we've become very digitalized. And I think, as you know, even in schools from where I was in school, I don't think I was in school that long ago. I think I am still quite young. But compared to, you know, when I was in school, a lot of, you know, I'm hearing a lot of students that I tutor here, a lot of it, the homework is given online. I'm hearing that, you know, a lot of sort of liaising that is done with other pupils and stuff is online. And I have a lot of that. So I think emotional intelligence is something that we do need to develop, you know, as a society, especially as children. So whether it's just about having connections with other people, or whether it's just about, you know, like having that free time, enjoying your hobbies and having that leisure activity, but being surrounded by other humans and having that human interaction, I think is so important, because I think emotional intelligence, you're not going to develop that if you're not around people, and, you know, you're not able to seek that. So yeah.
I understand. Yeah, absolutely. It's but so supporting students now with learning difficulties or on the spectrum. How can psychology help tutors or educators like yourself in identifying traits of students with learning difficulties, or
Yeah.
those on the autistic spectrum?
Of course, and like I said, I think in Telios tutors, I've definitely experienced that. And I think for me, it's all about ensuring that we tailor each session towards that child's needs, okay? Because no child is the same. Every child, when we come to tutor, every child's going to have a different experience when it comes to their exams, when it comes to their homework, their learning. Every child is different. And we know the basic learning strategies that each child, so some children, you know, like to learn verbally, visually, some children like to learn, you know, through sounds, others it's through making stuff practically. I think when it comes to neurodiverse children and children who may be on the spectrum for autism, you know, or whether they have ADHD, it's about individualizing those learning styles. So it could just be about really ensuring, and I guess trying to gauge that a really good relationship with them, and obviously with their parent as well, who may, you know, be doing a lot of homework with them, and just about talking to them, engaging and understanding of what works best for them. So I know I've had students in the past where drawing works really well. So whether it's about, you know, they might find it difficult to write, so it's about drawing so that they can understand that, and that will keep it in. It could be about as well, you know, appealing to their special interests. So I've had loads of students in the past where football might be their special interest, so it's about sort of trying to tailor things around them, or focusing on, you know, where I've taught different things in the past, it's about focusing around sort of their special interests so that they can gauge understanding and it's easier for them. But I think what's important, like I mentioned initially, is having that good relationship and having that open communication with them. So I guess they feel comfortable, so they feel like, you know, I feel comfortable to be able to say, you know what, I don't want to write this, I'm feeling it too much, can I have a break now? And just being able to give them a choice and being like, you know what, I can tell right now you've written a lot, we've done a lot, let's have a break for 5 minutes, come back. So I guess it's about having that, I guess that structure where they can expect it, but also knowing that, you know, there's that trust, there's that open communication where they feel like, you know what, I can learn. And then you're going to get a great outcome because they're going to feel like, I feel comfortable doing this, and they're going to learn.
Definitely, definitely. I think it speaks volume as well as one of the students that you've had with us, you've had for a number of years. Is that correct? Yes.
Yeah. And it's all about that. And like I said, the student that I have has very specific, you know, wants specific learning strategies, has a specific learning style, and I just cater towards it. And I think through that, it's really helped with engagement, because there's been times where the students found it difficult to engage in specific things, and they found it difficult to, you know, to get to grips with things, understand things. But it's about, okay, let's focus on how you're going to learn, what is best for you. So whether it's about structuring 5 minutes planning time, 10 minutes work, 5 minutes looking over, so it's adjusted to their needs. And I've, you know, learned, and I've seen, you know, clear progress and clear improvement for that child.
Absolutely. And I think that's where one-to-one tuition really comes in, and is so powerful for that personalization and catering lessons to a student, to a point where they might not get that in school. Of course, there's teachers do wonderful work at schools, but having that little bit of extra support outside of classrooms really does go a long way. And you're an expert who can identify any areas of concern and find quick solutions that work best for the student. So your dedication is really really there. And when it comes to another topic on psychology, childhood trauma and development, like childhood experiences, including trauma, bullying is a big one, and even early family dynamics can have a lasting psychological effect. What advice do you think would you give students or educators for recognizing these signs and supporting effective individuals?
Yeah, and I think this is such an important question, because I think, like I said, as a tutor, having that one-to-one, but I think for any child, the key structure thing, I know I've worked with many children before that have been, you know, open to social services, that have had difficulties with mental health experiences, neurodiversity. The key thing in a lot of child's life, that key constant, is education, is school, okay? And their teachers, their friends at school, they're the people they're going to see every single day. So between 0 to 16, that one constant in a child's life is school. So this is such a vital question that I just think is so important to get out there. And I think, first of all, is, like I mentioned before, having that relationship with the child, ensuring that, you know, we cater towards their needs. And, you know, my value is having that child first approach, ensuring that whatever we do, every child is different, ensuring that we tailor, whether it's different learning strategies, whether it's different support in school, towards that child and what's going on in their family. I think in terms of identifying whether it's signs of difficult attachment or difficult in trauma or bullying, it's identifying key signs. And I'm sure teachers, you know, safeguarding professionals at schools are aware, in terms of, you know, withdrawal, anxiety, whether they say specific comments. And like I said, with some children who may not have English as their first language, or some children who might find it difficult to engage or communicate, like we said before, children who may be experiencing neurodiversity, it may be ways that they can communicate it. So whether they find it comfortable to write things down, or noticing it in through drawings or things like that, because they may not have the confidence or feel comfortable to talk about it to another peer or a teacher.
Sure.
And I think I know we do it in Telios Tutors, but it's providing that safe space. And like you said, in schools, it can be so overwhelming for children, because there's so many teachers, there's so many students, but ensuring that whether there's a key teacher or a key person that they have in school, a key place that they can go to have that safe space, where there's different professionals that can encourage them and ensure that, you know, that whatever's going to do, they can help resolve it, you know. But I think that's what I meant, whether it's identifying signs. But it's such an important question that you asked, because I think as professionals, you know, we have a duty to ensure the safety of all young people and students there. But yeah, I think whether it's just awareness, whether it's empathy, or whether it's just having that trust and communication with them and with their family.
That is it. And, you know, from a personal perspective as well, not only am I working with Telios students, I'm also a mother as well, with a 9-year-old daughter who is getting to that age where she's noticing things aren't always sunshine and roses at school. You know, children can be mean, and it's helping her understand that she does have people that she can talk to. She doesn't always go to the right people to talk to about it. So I think letting children know early on about the individuals or the people who she can talk to, whether it be parents or a teacher at school that she really gets on with. I think that's so important as well, because I think, sad to say, I think a lot of children go through bullying these days, and with social media being in the mix, it's a digital age, you know, there's a certain aspect that all children should be this sort of way, and it can sort of dim the light in some children. So in order to bring up their confidence and bring them back to themselves, I've always just told her to just be yourself, and always have that that initiative to go to the right person, whether it be she also has a tutor with Telios as well, so she knows that she can always go to them as well. And but a little bit about the work that you do outside of tutoring. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm currently working at a bereavement charity. So I'm working with children and young people and families who have experienced bereavement. And yeah, so as part of my role is to provide support sessions, whether it's for children or families, and understanding different ways that they can support their children during a bereavement. So I go through different, I guess, psychological and psychoeducational theories behind different methods or coping strategies or tasks that they can do to support their child through this. I also speak on the phone to a lot of children and parents who make referrals to our organisation. I guess collating key information, looking at any, whether it's risks, and obviously risk assessing, and obviously diverting to or signposting to appropriate other organisations or other sort of sources of support as well.
And how do you find for your own mental health as well? How is that working in a bereavement centre like that? How do you feel?
Yeah, I think through my previous experiences, I've quite learnt to sort of separate work and personal life. So I'm able to come home and have a really good break. I've got 2 dogs that really support me, and I think, you know, I'm always, if I do feel too stressed and overwhelmed, I can always go for a nice walk. I've got a lovely park behind my house. I think as me, I very like exercise, so I'm a very practical person. So I love going on walks. I love going to the gym. I like a good boxing class or a good yoga class. I'm on either end, depends what mood I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can be difficult, but I think I've learned, I think through my experience as well, I sometimes take a lot of the psychological techniques with me, whether it's looking at the anger iceberg or emotion, where I'm thinking, really identifying, okay, how is it I feel, and really allow myself to reflect in my in the moment and listen to my body, because I think listening to your body, coming from a, you know, person who's done psychology, is so important, because that really gives you feelings of how you feel and listening to your emotions.
I think those are a really important thing. Those things that help you take a step back and enjoy things. I like dogs myself. My dog is my world. And she honestly helps my mental health on a daily basis, so I'm very thankful to her. And there are other issues like psychological implications for students these days that I'd like to cover. So for instance, you know, issues like eating disorders and addiction or anxiety can affect students across all phases. What psychological insights or approaches can help address these challenges, or solutions even?
Yeah, so when we come to these kinds of sort of, I guess, whether it's eating disorders or addictions or anxiety, I like to take I think a key approach is this, and you probably heard it, is CBT, so cognitive behavioural therapy.
Yes.
So a lot of these are looking at sort of any underlying emotions or thoughts that may be behind the person or individual who's experiencing this. So things like, when we're looking at eating disorders or anxiety or addiction, we look at things sort of like recognizing these challenges, so things that are stemming from behind these thoughts. So a CBT practitioner or a therapist could be for a person to write down the thoughts that is sort of making them think that, and then go out and sort of challenge it. So they may have anxiety, and a person could have anxiety because they feel like everybody hates them. Okay, so a practitioner could sort of say that, okay, you know, your task or your homework, they like to give homework if you're a CBT therapist. Okay, go out, and again, I want you to ask 5 people if they hate you. Okay, and then you note that down and you come back. So I guess it's really challenging and really providing evidence to challenge those thoughts that they've developed over time. I think there's also a lot, and we're experiencing a lot, like I know I mentioned yoga previously, but mindfulness is becoming a really key thing. I remember during COVID as well, COVID times, loads of people were practicing meditation and mindfulness. And this is something, I guess, for just people to, if experiencing anxiety particularly, to really be yourself in the moment and present and focus on your breathing, and that can really support, and that sort of leads to on like self-compassion. We think of the humanistic theory, which is sort of known as the positive theory in psychology, which is really looking at, you know, yourself and giving yourself self-compassion, and looking at, I guess, if you're struggling with self-esteem or struggling with emotional dysregulation, looking at yourself in ways that you can promote positivity within yourself. So there's different techniques of looking at them, different treatments, but yeah, I think, you know, CBT is probably the main one that, you know, loads of people understand and know.
I think it kind of gives you everyday tools, you know, techniques for grounding, the stress management, or rooted trauma, psychologically, and, you know, increasingly like use even daily affirmations, I think work really well for some people, and, you know, manage those emotional triggers. But what about, say, like students who struggle with decision making or productivity. Like we come across a lot of students who procrastinate, maybe spend too much time on screens, that sort of thing. That can all tie into under the umbrella of mental health. So what would you maybe have advice for students or parents even listening, a guide maybe for decision making or improved focus?
I think for improved focus specifically, I like using the 5-minute rule. So even if this is not, even if it doesn't come to, you know, studying or anything, I know there's a loads of students who may be experiencing, you know, have bad days, sad days, or maybe feeling anxious and might find it difficult to do something productive or do something that, you know, go for a walk and stuff. I just always say the 5-minute rule, which is actually sort of underpinned by some DBT and CBT theories. But give yourself 5 minutes to do something, whether it's, you know, cook something, or, you know, or go for a walk, or whether it's, you know, read this book. 5 minutes, time yourself 5 minutes, and after that 5 minutes, ask yourself, okay, how do you feel? Can you continue doing it? You know, because you've done yourself 5 minutes, okay, and they can continue. Or it could be 5 minutes, you know, congratulate yourself and really feel, you know, I did that for 5 minutes. Go have a break, do what you need to do now. We're thinking about, you know, difficult with attention, and then come back to it. So I think either way, you know, I think it's just about, especially for children, parents, is that praise and recognition, and knowing that they can always go to their parent, you know, providing that comfort and support, and knowing that they're there. But also, just, I guess it takes time, you know, 5 minutes. And I think when it comes to exams, it's, you can't go, I know loads of people like to revise the night before and go all at once, but it's about having that time. You know, it's gonna, you know, start on small steps, start progress, and then progress it as, you know, it gets nearer to exams, and then you'll get used to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely cramming doesn't work for everyone, sad to say. But not only are you a psychology tutor, but you also tutor English as well for primary age students and above, as well as sociology. And so I wonder, how can sociology increase students' social awareness and emotional intelligence? Like, is there any sociological insights that would benefit, or like group behavior, for example?
Yeah, I think with sociology, I find that interesting as well, because that looks at society and how society influences us, and the different sort of norms, the culture, and the values. And I think if we're looking at the emotional intelligence for young people, I think understanding, I guess, like societal norms. So what we call a norm is sort of the normal expected behavior. So I guess to understanding, you know, the expectations in different places. So how to behave in, you know, one social situation is different to another social situation. That will obviously promote emotional intelligence. As well as norms, we have values. And I think, you know, everybody's identity is different. Everyone has their own identity, and within your own identity, you have your own values, what's important to you, and what's, you know, what things that mean something to you. And I think maybe understanding other people's values is going to help shape that emotional intelligence, because you're going to help with peer influences, it's going to help with relationships, it's going to help in social situations. I guess it will help with that emotional intelligence.
Also, like workplace dynamics as well for the future. I think that's important. Employers, they use psychological insights to create inclusive work environments, reduce burnout, and, you know, improve team cohesion. So, so it's important to learn about that as well. So I think I'd like to just maybe wrap up like the key things that we've taken today with that. So what makes psychology such a transformative subject for personal growth, do you feel?
I think it's sort of a lot of what we've spoken about today. I don't want to mimic, but making sure we understand that communication with people, and you understand that emotional intelligence. And I think it's not only about that, it's about, like you said, when it comes to paying attention, whether it comes to learning, you know, having specific strategies that can help promote learning or promote inclusion, and sort of every single child having a different technique. I think it's most about, like you said, having that empathy and understanding that. And I think through studying it and through understanding these ways, that we can just promote a more, I guess, you know, inclusive society, and more society where people have that emotional intelligence, understand each other, and can support each other. And I guess that stems back to your first question, which you were like, you know what, why do I want to study psychology? Well, it's because, you know, you want to help support people. And like, even when it comes to, you know, doing exams or revising, it's such a critical stage in a child's life. By promoting psychological principles in that and implementing that in session is so significant.
Definitely. And, you know, underrated aspects of psychology, such as ability to foster empathy, emotional intelligence, and better decision making. What I would like to link down in the description below. I know I'm probably putting you on the spot here. Any useful websites or resources that people could look into if they wanted to find out a bit more. Do you have any off the top of your head, or I can still link down below?
Oh, you can definitely place it down below. From the top of my head, I know there's psychology tools, which is really helpful, and which people want to look at specific things. I know that I think Mind have really good techniques for coping strategies and resources that could help perhaps if you're experiencing anxiety or stress, if you're looking at that. And I know that I'll definitely link in, there's probably some really helpful like podcasts that many children and young people can listen to help when it comes to minimizing, you know, things during exam time and stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, great. You can send those to me. We'll definitely link those down below for our listeners. And I always like to end our podcast a little fun facts about our tutors. So name one random fun fact about you, Joanna.
Oh my gosh, you really put me on the spot there. What's the fun facts about me? Okay, one fun fact about me. Well, I think I mentioned it before. I think I'm kind of like, I don't think I look like it because I like wearing pink and nails, but I do boxing in the gym. So I do like boxing. I can get my anger. That's how I stress relief, to be honest. So that's one thing I can do. And many people don't think that of me because I'm usually, you know, wearing pink, have my hair in plaits and stuff. So
don't mess with Joanna.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to make this like a theme with all our episodes. I'm always going to introduce everyone to my dog.
Oh, I love that. Oh, so lovely. That's such a nice way. I would bring my dogs, but they'd go crazy.
What type of dogs do you have?
I've got 2 Labradors.
2 Labradors. Lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. They definitely need a good walk then.
Yes,
Every day. This one is barely 15 minutes a day because
a
little bit lazy. And thank you. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining me, Joanna. It's been absolutely wonderful speaking with you. Everything that Joanna's mentioned, all the links that she mentioned will be in the description below. And for more psychology insights, please subscribe to our channel and visit www.teliostutors.com for more resources. Sorry. Thank you again, Joanna, and we will see you next time on the Tutors Playbook.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.